but we are ready to begin. So today we have with us Mr. Vinod Gopalakrishnan. A few words of introduction about him. Born into the family of arts, Vinod is the son of acclaimed dance duo, late Guru Gopalakrishnan and Srimati Kalamandalam Kusum Gopalakrishnan, who is amongst us in our audience today. Hello, ma'am. Vinod is an alumnus of the Sloan School of Management at the MIT in the US and has worked in international banking capacities that took him across the world for almost 3 decades that he lived outside of India. All through his career, however, Vinod has stayed very close to the arts. His closest passion is museums as well as theatre and dance history. Over many decades, he has amassed a large personal library of books, manuals, papers, as well as audio and video material on art, art history, theatre and dance that cover all the cultures of our world. Post his corporate career, Vinod is a board member of the Madras Craft Foundation and the Dakshin Chitra Museum in Chennai. He speaks on art and dance history at various venues regularly, and the last talk he presented at Natanakairali was on the famed Russian ballerina Anna Pavlova's life and her inspiring impact on Indian dance luminaries. Today, he brings us Crossing Cultures. He is going to talk about 2 great artists, 2 visionaries. One of them from Russia who's absolutely famous in the West and is highly renowned and respected. The other, equally astonishing in his craft and his technique. Unfortunately, unsung. So here's presenting Crossing Cultures by Mr. Vinod. Please welcome.
Namaskaram to everybody. Thank you for having me. Thank you, Radhika, for that wonderful introduction. All the Ashans and seniors here, my namaste to all of you. And for those theatre students who are present here, I hope this brings you some amount of illumination in terms of the story and the backgrounds that I talk about. So as Radhika said it precisely in her intro, this is about a discussion or a presentation that centers around 2 iconic, incredibly talented individuals who literally, struggle for the word to think of, in terms of looking at these spirits and where they came from. And so, as the title suggests, Crossing Cultures, I'd rather start with one story and then get to the middle where these 2 individuals meet, where I talk about the second, and then we come back to the continual of the story once that meeting of them together has completed. So the 2 individuals, as Radhika had also mentioned, were Michael Chekhov, who came from Russia. He was in a way fortunate because he was born into a larger family that were already connected with the arts. And the other is Kalamandalam Madhavan, sir, Madhavan Ashan to me, who was born not further than an hour's drive from here, from where I'm sitting right now. And that's the story that we'll go through. We will start with them. I believe you need more audio. Okay. So, we'll start with that. Before we continue, I just want to tell you and thank you, thank Venuashan, because the researching this presentation was quite difficult for me. It wasn't that easy. because we are looking at a period of the 1920s, 30s and onwards. Not easy to get images that pertain specifically to this talk. In the early 1930s, the famous Swiss Indologist scholar who came to India, Alice Boner. If any one of you have theatre students have not read about her, please do. She's a phenomenal woman who not only became a very, very qualified Indological scholar, and even today she spent quite a few decades of her life in India. She lived in Benares. Even today, if you go to Benares, there is a museum that is there in her memory, which is situated in the house where she lived. Even today it's there. But most of her collections are now at what you see here, which is the Reichsberg Museum in Zurich, Switzerland. And most of her photographic archives are also at this museum, if you would like to go and see. Given Vinod's connection with the museum, while he was there, he was handed a set of visuals that were pertaining to Kerala. And quite a few of them came into, he shared them with me, and then I've kind of used them in this presentation. They were not easy to get, and I will talk you through them as we talk. So we start this story, which I felt needed to be told, because this Kalamandalam, Madhavan Ashan, as I could, a teacher in the context of Kerala arts, Madhavan Ashan apparently was a phenomenal artist in terms of talent. And my first introduction to him was through my own father, Guru Gopalakrishnan, who knew Madhavan Ashan personally. So he knew him from his days in Chennai, which is now Madras, what it used to be. And he would meet him occasionally. But Ashan was not the man he used to be in the past. That's the story we are going through. And hence, the use of my words of forgotten legacy. Because not a lot of people, we have tremendous Kathakali exponents here, Kerala has had, we still do. One of them is sitting here. Sadhanam Krishnamurti Ashan is here. Thank you, honored sir. And it's a wonderful honor for somebody of his eminence to come and sit and listen to somebody like me talking about a story that needs to be told. So let's go to the beginnings of Kalamandalam. So this was 1930, one of the most premier institutions of art in India, formed by those two individuals, Mahakavi Vallatol and Mukunda Raja, Manakkulam Mukunda Raja, who offered land and his services in terms of helping Mahakavi Vallatol establish what became Kalamandalam even today. That's a photograph of the old premises there. And then, of course, a little later in the 1930s, they had another building that came up, and that was it. At this point, I must also state that I'm quite happy that my mother is in the audience today, as you mentioned, Radhika. And she herself is from Kalamandalam in the 1960s. And in 2008, she wrote a book about a whole group of Kerala Nadanam, Kerala art, Kerala dance practitioners who went across the world, from beginning from Kerala, travelled and got that art form which was created by Guru Gopinath, who is my father's guru, and incidentally also Venuashan's guru. So both the same guru. So that book also included Madhavan Ashan. There was a small little 2 or 3 page article that my mother wrote about Madhavan Ashan, but that was it. So if you look for his history and what he did, not much is out there. So this was the second or third structure that came up for Kalamandalam in the 1930s. When it began, they had a lot of challenges in terms of finding the right kind of teaching instructor. At that point of time, people did not even know how an institution could be set up, and the struggle that Mahakavi Vallatol had to endure was not an easy one. And in the middle you have the Patikanduri Ravani Menon Ashan, who was the first number one Ashan there when Kalamandalam was begun. And along with him were Kavalapara Narayana Menon on the left of your screen, Tagadi Kunjukurup Ashan on the right, and Patikanduri Ashan's guru is in the faded photograph there, Iti Radhika Menon. So I would try to put, if I can find a guru's guru, then it is, it's nicer, I think, to visually show the lineage where it comes from. So these were the first gurus at Kalamandalam. So when you have the gurus and you have an institution, you have the first batch of Kathakali students at Kalamandalam. So this was the very first group. So you have Kalamandalam Nair, wonderful artist of Kathakali, celebrated the world over. Everybody knows his name. Wonderful artist. On the right is Guru Gopinath, again like I said, my father's guru, Venuashan's guru, and a guru to a lot more people, both within and outside of India. At the bottom left is Ananda Shivram. Ananda Shivram is responsible for, in a way, well, I should use both the names at the same time. Ananda Shivram was discovered by Louise Lightfoot, who came from Australia to Kerala. And then, by the way, a minor detail that you might want to know, which kind of surprised me when I found it out myself. Louise Lightfoot, the Australian lady, was the first Australian woman who qualified to be an architect. She was studying architecture and she qualified to be an architect, the first woman. But she had watched Anna Pavlova dance and she fell in love with dance and said, I don't want architecture, I want to be a dancer. And that's how she thought of India, and that's another talk anyway. She came up to Kerala and then she was impressed with the work that Ananda Shivram did at that time, along the same batch with Madhavan as well, and went off to Australia. From there they went to America, and there's a whole history. That's a separate talk that I do on Louise Lightfoot and Ragini Devi, but that's for another day. Then of course you had Kelu Nair also. I'm told that there were 2 or 3 other performers, students who joined along with them, but these were the most prominent. Along with them came Madhavan sir. So he was a little younger than this photograph during the time that the Kathakali school was set up and began to function in 1930. So where did Madhavan sir come from? So look at this. He was born in 1915 at Kundamkulam, which is about 45 minutes from here, from where we sit. He was the 7th child of Karamil Achudan Nair and Valingattu Sri Devi. That was his mother's name. And his father was the manager of the Kakad Ganapati Devaswa, which is the temple management kind of organization. While Madhavan was 5 in 1920, a mighty flood washed away everything and the family possessed, and they had to start from scratch. This is quite devastating to any family. Most recently we had the floods in Wayanad and so much destruction there, and same things would have happened. So one can imagine what the tragedy would have been. In the 1920s, when you look at the 1920s, by the time he was 5 years old and above, he was disposed to theatrics from a very young age. That's what the history says. He enrolled at a local Kathakali Kalari, and he performed an Arangetram in 6 months. That's what the record says. Then he studies further under Karunakara Menon Ashan and also acted in some stage dramas. Those days the movies hadn't hit, or film was not quite there yet. So we were talking about the 1920s. He then studies further under Karunakara Ashan, and then one has to also remember that situations, income levels and the standards of living were quite difficult at that time. And so he had to stop when the school was closed, and basically they did not know what to do. He was not sure in terms of what he wanted to do, although he was that young. So he decided to look for a job in what was Madras, today Chennai, and he went there. But things didn't really work out, and the only job that he got was that of a mechanic, a motor mechanic, or whatever it was. Slight similarity with another gentleman who was from another field, which is Mehdi Hassan, the great ghazal singer, also was a mechanic at some point of time. One point of time, which says himself that he needed to survive at that point in time, and so I did this job. And that was fine. And then, of course, we know who he became. So in Madhavan Ashan's time, he also went through that. But as luck would have it, in 1930, he received news of the start of Kalamandalam. And the moment he heard that news, he came back to what is now Kalamandalam in Thrissur, or close to Ottapad. So that was his life, and this was what he was when he was young. He was very, very young. So he was born in 1915. So this is around 15, 16 years old. And these are photographs shot by Alice Bonner. I talked to you about her. These are photographs, beautiful photographs, unusual photographs, all shot by Alice Bonner. Fantastic photographs. So this is him in 1932. So he's been a student at Kalamandalam for 2 years, along with the other folks. Look at these photographs. This is from that time, 1930s. And this kind of clarity, and remember, they were not carrying cameras like we do on the phone. These were big things, and the eye and the structure, fantastic. So life was going on. You had this. It is not a strenuous thing to be a student of. It is not an easy thing to be a student of Kathakali. Excuse me. It is quite difficult then and now. These are two students, young students at Kalamandalam in 1934. It is a little bit of a surprise. They are both very young students, but the photograph on the left is a very, very young Kalamandalam Krishna Nairasha. Very, very young. That is Kalamandalam Krishna Nairasha, very, very young. And on the right is Madhavan Ashan and Krishna Nairasha in three versions, three women characters. So Kalamandalam Krishna Nairasha, who went on to be an icon of Kathakali, and Madhavan Ashan, who was internationally feted, as you will see shortly. So these were two students at Kalamandalam, just like you all are going through a course, they are going through a closer too. This is where his life starts to change. The wheels start to turn, as they say. In 1935, Alice Bonner contacts Mukunda Raja. Alice Bonner was very connected. She was very, very astute, intelligent, creative, art enthusiast and history enthusiast. So she kept in touch regularly. She was the one who actually looked at supporting Uday Shankar all through his years of setup, which kind of immensely helped him. The advantage that Alice Bonner had was that she came from an extremely wealthy Swiss family. So for her, money was not an issue. So, well, there are so many like that, but she had a mindset to use it exactly the way she wanted to use, so that generations would benefit from it. That's who she was. So 1935, she contacts Mukunda Raja, one of the founders of Kalamandalam, to request for a good Kathakali artist to join the Uday Shankar's troupe. Uday Shankar was already quite well known by then, but he was also building his own troupe and repertoire and training and readiness to travel the world then. So that was what he was doing. And Uday Shankar and Alice Bonner worked very, very closely together in terms of her ideas that went into his work and his collaboration with her in terms of creating new productions, her input into what went to. They met by accident when Uday Shankar was at a museum in Zurich in the 1920s. They just met there, and then this whole classical relationship took on from there. It took on a wonderful turn. So Mukunda Raja, so you see I put the arrows there because Alice Bonner, that's Alice Bonner on the left, a youngish Alice Bonner. But Mukunda Raja, who selects Madhavan, who goes to Uday Shankar. And they put him on a train from Kerala, gets down in Calcutta. He is received at Calcutta station by a very young Ravi Shankar, Pandit Ravi Shankar as we know him, right? Uday Shankar's younger brother. And it's him. He was just a student then, very, very young. He receives Madhavan Ashan at the train station in Calcutta. Look at how the story goes, right? So, this is where he gets to. Then, in 1935, Uday Shankar orients Madhavan Ashan into the Uday Shankar style. So, he teaches him, he exposes him, he understands, he reads that, he understands that Madhavan can grasp dance this way, and he puts him through the grind, understanding his style. 6 months of interactive work with Madhavan to orient him. Uday Shankar and Madhavan, Rameshan, speaking to me earlier, had asked me in terms of what style, what did they do and all. And my answer to that is, Uday Shankar and Madhavan create a unique Tandava Nrittam. That's what they called it, which combines what Madhavan's input was from a Kathakali perspective and Uday Shankar introducing his own style. That combined Kathakali influenced movement and the Uday Shankar style. So that's what they try to call it, Tandava Nrittam. Now remember, at this time, nothing has been tested. They are just choreographing, trying to do what they could do together. Madhavan's first performance, arranged by Uday Shankar, was at the Calcutta Excelsior Theatre. First ever performance that he's put in. Stupendous success of the Uday and Madhavan combination. From day one, from the very first show, stupendous success. Bombay was a similar success, and Harindranath Chattopadhyay, whose photograph is there, singled out Madhavan, and even Uday Shankar praised his talent. Such was his ability on the stage. And Harindranath Chattopadhyay, for those of whom you don't know, he is the younger brother of Sarojini Naidu. Okay? So he was also quite an impresario, a poet, humorist, a man of many things. Very, very brilliant man of many things. And he was at a time married to Kamala Devi Chattopadhyay. That's not what we are here to talk about. So, Bombay was a similar success, and then Madhavan Ashan was getting to be recognized as one with singular talent. So the tour starts, and you must think of the years. Think of the years. Then it's not like what we do here: run to an airport and jump on a plane and we get somewhere. Life was not easy. It was a ship most of the time. 1936, 1937. Palestine, Greece, Hungary, Austria, Czechoslovakia, then not the Czech Republic we know now, Italy, Netherlands, Belgium, France, UK, England, and America, and apparently some of Canada as well. This is where they went, and at that time, which meant that a tour meant you're gone for a year, because half the year you're traveling to get there, or if you're on a ship. Uday Shankar takes America by storm. 1937, Madhavan is a star overnight. So, if you see the two, these are full-scap, double-page spreads about the programs that went in through. If I wear my glasses, or you may not be able to see the picture on the right. This is S. Hurok. There's a name called S. Hurok. S stands for Salomon Hurok, who was perhaps America's best impresario, who brought the greatest of musicians and dancers, performers to within and around America those days. I think he passed away in the 50s or so. So if Hurok was, bringing you, then you must be somebody. That was the kind of reputation. So if you look at a number of people performing there, you've got the Ballet Russe who are there. That's another presentation altogether. You've got Arthur Rubinstein, who's also there on that list. The Vienna choir boys are there. And the Salzburg Opera Guild is there. And of course, the Uday Shankar group is there. So you can see where they've got to by then. By this early age, we've kind of got Uday Shankar's ability to showcase what his style was and what his production value was immense. It was absolutely immense. These were the cities that I could locate: Boston, Chicago, all of them. And they just, did a fantastic job. What happens to Madhavan Ashan? Madhavan in America, Time magazine hails his miraculous talent. That's him in the middle. That's actually him. And the first time I've never asked my mother where they got the photograph from, because this is not a photograph I found. But it is Madhavan, obviously, and it was there when she had put it in her book to begin with. And here, at this point, Madhavan Ashan's performance was so excellent that Uday Shankar himself said he is a better dancer than I am. So that's where, when you look at the last sentence, They praise Madhavan for his energy, his strong fluid movements, and the ease with which he holds himself in desperately hard positions. So, they are not informed writers here about Kathakali or Indian dance or anything. So, they interpret physicality and tell you about the positive or things lacking or not, depending on who's performing. So, it was just miraculous kind of recognition. And then, of course, they moved from America to England. This is also a beautiful photograph. I don't think I'm not sure whether this is Alice Bonner or somebody else. But look at this photograph. From the left, I will name you from the left. The first is Uday Shankar, a very young Uday Shankar. It's winter, obviously, from their dress. Then is Zimki. She was a French lady who was actually a pianist, who was a pianist when she met Uday Shankar. She then joined Uday Shankar on his tours. Uday Shankar is the one who taught her dance. And my father has seen Zimki perform, and I've met quite a few other older generation artists who have met Zimki and seen the Uday Shankar troupe perform, and all without exception said that she was an extraordinary dancer. But she learned dance from Uday Shankar. So you have Ravi Shankar, Zimki, Uday Shankar himself, and then of course some of you might know or recognize, but she's very young in this. The lady on the left of Uday Shankar is Zora Sehgal. Very young Zora Sehgal was a dancer first. Next, on the left of Zora Sehgal is her sister Usra Sehgal. On the left of Usra, I don't know who that person is. And the one with the white scarf and a jacket is Madhavan. That's Madhavan. And the person in the end holding a bag, I don't know. These two I've not been able to understand. So you've got Ravi Shankar, Zimki, Simone Barbier, that was her French name. Zimki's French name was Simone Barbier. And then you've got Uday Shankar, Zora Sehgal, Usra Sehgal, I don't know the gentleman, Madhavan Ashan, and then again I don't know the gentleman. So these two, this is them leaving America and going towards England. Here's the background. So slowly we are switching into the second story. So here, this is in the middle. You see Dartington Hall in Devonshire, London. Not too far from London. It's not in London, but it's not too far. This building, I've been there. This building looks exactly like this even now, except that, of course, this is a black and white photograph. It's not very different. You can go there and see this place even today. So this was Lord Leonard Elmhurst, who was the boss of this place then. And on the bottom right, so you can read about him. This was a country home for him. And he was an admirer of Rabindranath Tagore. So you must remember it's the 1930s now. Tagore won his Nobel Prize 1911. So he was quite a big name even in the West. Tagore was pretty well known. And another scholar who, like Alice Bonner, another scholar who came to India through the inspiration of Tagore was Stella Kramrisch, who came in and went to Shantiniketan first, and then she worked in Calcutta for a number of years. Till I think she was there at the Oriental Institute, and then in 1950s she went, and the rest of her life she spent in Pennsylvania, Philadelphia, the Institute of Art, and she's got this entire India pavilion set up. I've been there. The displays are the extreme ones, some of the most aesthetic ones that I've seen, especially to showcase Indian art, sculpture, paintings, all that. Anyway, so this was the Dartington Hall, and Lord Elmhurst and his wife Dorothy are featured in the photograph at the bottom right. the money, the fact says the money was actually from her side. She was very wealthy, but together they felt that they needed to make Dartington Hall a center for cultural thought and discussion. When the troupe came, Uday Shankar troupe and Madhavan all came into England, Madhavan performed. And here, the Illustrated London News of 20th March 1937 published an entire supplement on Madhavan. This whole supplement, there are 2 more articles which I could not find. I know the date, but I could not find. The next time I go to London, I have to now look up the archives of the press media and see if one can locate that for the next talk. But imagine a whole supplement. Think of the man's art. What level of art would he have had to... So, this is just impressive. But one of the person who is very impressed with his art, having seen Madhavan personally, physically perform, is Michael Chekhov. So this is the other name that we are talking about now. We change, the story changes gears till we come back to Madhavan. Okay? So that's Michael Chekhov, a rather young Michael Chekhov on the right. And this is, Radhika and I talked about this book just before the path of the actor. Yeah. So this was a creative period at Dartington Hall. So that's what Lord Elmhurst used to do. Bring people from different parts of the world, whoever he came in touch with or had heard of, and allow the space of Dartington Hall to be used for, probably what was equal to presentations like these, or interactions with artists, or performances, workshops. And there was enough place for them to live, and be with them and spend, a few weeks or months or so and interact with each other. What a wonderful idea. So, at this point it's important to understand who Michael Chekhov was. Yes, a lot of people study his method and talk and all that, but where did all the history begin from a theatre person's perspective? Of course, the world has heard of Anton Chekhov, and his stories that we've heard or we've read and studied sometimes in school. And Anton Chekhov was his uncle. Anton Chekhov, the writer, playwright, had 4 brothers. So he was among, they were a set of 4 brothers. So elder than him was Alexander, the eldest brother was, I'm not talking about Michael Chekhov now, Anton Chekhov. Anton Chekhov's eldest brother was Alexander Pavlovich Chekhov, whose son was Michael Chekhov. So Alexander Pavlovich Chekhov is the eldest brother, and then you have Nikolai Chekhov, who was a painter. That's the second brother. So now Anton Chekhov is a writer, Alexander Pavlovich Chekhov, the eldest brother, is also a writer and is a columnist, and he very much a writer, let's leave it at that. Nikolai Chekhov becomes a painter. And then younger to Anton Chekhov, they had another brother, Ivan, who becomes a teacher. He decided to follow teaching as his profession, and then they had a sister, Maria, whom I don't know much about. At the same time that Chekhov was writing, the spirit of Russia was slowly moving away from what used to be the bourgeois grandeur of the Romanov dynasty, and then the rumblings of a different line of thought, and then comes the October Revolution. And all through this period, one name was very strong and privileged when it came to the world of theatre, which was Konstantin Stanislavski, who's the thespian god of theatre, pretty much in the modern era at least, in terms of what people study and refer to in the modern age as instructive or thoughts to follow till such time that you discover who you are and what the path you want to take. So that was Konstantin Stanislavski. And Stanislavski came from a very privileged background, rich family. His father even created a theatre in his own house or in the compound of the house so that he could experiment and all that. So he was very privileged. And he was a very, very ardent follower of theatre as it was then, and then infused and distilled his own thoughts and ideas into it, which has become its own history, so to speak. He and another gentleman, Vladimir Danchenko, together formed the Moscow Art Theatre. And they have another one of their pupils, two of their pupils actually. One of the pupils was known as, was called Vangtanov. It took a long time for me to remember all these names. Vangtanov, and there also another pupil who was very, very talented both as an actor and as a director was Meyerhold, right? Veselod Meyerhold. So these guys were very much under Konstantin Stanislavski and going through this whole mechanism of learning theatre. That's when Michael Chekhov, who was Anton Chekhov's nephew, decides to join the Moscow Art Theatre. So he studies under Konstantin Stanislavski. He studies under Danchenko until the such time that Stanislavski at one stage puts him through what is known as affective memory, not effective, affective memory, which is going. I'm not trained, in theatre as many of you are, so I'm trying to understand exactly what it could possibly be or mean, right? So you regress into who you want to be, into that character, or what you're told to. Anyway, in his particular case, it becomes very intense, and Michael Chekhov ends up having a nervous breakdown. So that kind of hits him. And maybe it's that woke him up or something else. He starts to think on his own as far as theatre is concerned. So this Vaktanov gentleman, who was half Russian and of Armenian descent, he passes away all of a sudden in 1922. And then Michael Chekhov, because of his talent, is made director of the art studio, which was the first studio that was put in place by Stanislavski. So he's there and he's kind of experimenting. Stanislavski and his theatre were doing largely plays by Anton Chekhov, Maxim Gorky, and Mikhail Bulgakov. So these were the playwrights whose material that there were others as well, but primarily these. The Seagull of Chekhov, for instance, they took all over Europe then. So Michael Chekhov is there and he goes through this whole process. And then if you count the years, then we moved. October 1917 was the revolution. So the Romanov dynasty is gone now, and it's a new Russia, and it is a very difficult time especially for the arts. So that was not the focus of people then, and it became extremely difficult. And there were rumblings of danger that was coming. And so, for instance, Meyerhold, I told you, was Solod Meyerhold, this brilliant artist and director. He was picked up in what we know subsequently in history as the purge. So he was picked up, and the next we hear is that in 1940 he was executed for whatever. That's what his history records. And then by which time somebody like Michael Chekhov also gets to understand or instinctively understand that if he stays longer, then he wasn't quite sure of what to do. So he decides to leave. And in 1930, he goes to Lithuania first. And he spends about 5 years in Lithuania till about 35, trying to teach theatre in terms of what he learns. But what's important in Michael Chekhov's thinking is that he respects Stanislavski and the learnings that he got in Russia and from them for making him who he was, but he differs from them in terms of the way he wants theatre to be performed. And so he brings his own focus of, your body, your voice and your imagination. And that is theatre. And, he goes into that. So after Lithuania, he goes into Germany for a short while. And then, of course, he quickly realizes it's not the right place to be. And then comes to England. So this is where this crossing of cultures happens when he watches Madhavan perform. Michael Chekhov watches them perform and is very, very impressed with the physicality of this man in terms of how he performs and how he transforms into whoever he is playing on that stage at that time. So that is a very, very wonderful recognition from somebody who knew nothing about what the dance was all about, and no less a person than him. So Michael Chekhov was not known as Michael Chekhov when he was in Russia. So this was his full name, Mikhail Alexandrovich Chekhov. I told you his father's name was Alexander. So that's the middle name. And by the time he comes to England, he becomes Michael Chekhov. So he taught not only with his words, but with every nerve and muscle of his body. Every gesture he made was significant and revealing. That's the kind of, teaching that Chekhov brought. And he did transform the lives of a great number of people. He influenced tremendous amount of artists today. And I was certainly astounded at the number of people who have been his students, which I didn't know about. He had developed a method which he hoped would bring out the latent powers of his students. That's what happened. So he would just transform into something else. All these photographs on the right, they are all Michael Chekhov. They are not different people. It's the same person who transforms into something else. So an actor has 3 instruments. This is Chekhov speaking. His body, his voice, and his imagination. So he simplified things into such an extent that one could completely internalize into that role and do something uniquely different. So he was sometimes known as the other Chekhov, not Anton. Right? So it's a little humor there. This, what you saw, that's a book, and this is the inside of that book. The workshops that I talked about at Dartington Hall, this is only one of them, there were many. Those things are the ones that built his own knowledge and his reputation through collaboration and all this. And from 1939, this was 37, so 2 years after this happened, meeting with Uday Shankar and Madhavan, Chekhov went to America. So he settled in America, and followers of the Michael Chekhov method is Ingrid Bergman, Gregory Peck, Anthony Quinn. I mean, look at these names. I don't have to read them out, right? This is like the who's who of the greatest in cinema, among the greatest in cinema. Yul Brynner is also there. He wasn't American, by the way. Rudolf Brenner was Russian. And he came in. He was born in Vladivostok. But I should not go into the bios of each of one of these. But there are many, many more. On the left, this is Michael Chekhov's photograph. But he's playing a character. This is a character that he played and he was nominated for the Oscar. And the film's name is Spellbound by Alfred Hitchcock. With Ingrid Bergman. Yeah, you didn't know that. A lot of people didn't know that. Gregory Peck and Ingrid Bergman as well. And he plays a psychiatrist. He is brilliant. Please watch, go and watch this film, get hold of this film, and look at how he portrays it's just completely different. I mean, I can't find the words to explain these things. Anyway, so these were the people, this was Chekhov. So those of you studying Chekhov, you're on the right track. But you've got to ensure that you stay on the track. Most people don't. That's the problem. Yeah? So after a creative 2 years, now we've talked about Chekhov. You saw how Madhavan started the story. And he got his fame and his recognition was there and people understood who he was. Now, after a creative 2 years in Europe and America, Madhavan returns to India, which is here, right, to Kerala. He is now experienced and carries a personality. Okay, so you know what it does, right? Fame does a lot of things to a lot of people. But he is understood to have been extremely successful and very happy. When he comes back in 1938, a spectacular reception is prepared to receive Madhavan. Because he was a student of Kalamandalam, he brought such fame and glory to the institution, and they would like to celebrate him. James Cousins, who very much into India, in a lover of India, is originally Irish, writer, poet as well. His trip to India was funded by Annie Besant, who was, helping India find its own freedom those days. And so he came in, he was based in India, and I don't think he ever left India after that. He passed away in Madinapalli, Andhra Pradesh, because of the Jiddu Krishnamurti movement and all that. So he was also there, very much interested in the arts and culture. So James Cousins was there, Kamla Devi Chattopadhyay, a doyen, absolutely grand old lady of arts and culture, till such time that she passed, and I don't think the personality like her has been replaced in India. She was something unique. She was the wife of Harendranath Chattopadhyay, which I talked to you about earlier, but they were not on speaking terms towards the end. And then, of course, you had Uday Shankar. Now, this whole reception was to honor Madhavan as a student. So that happened. And then from 1938, this is the only history that I could find about Madhavan. Late 1938, Vallatol invites Madhavan to teach at Kalamandalam. 1938. Madhavan stays less than 1 year and he decides to leave. I don't know, I've not been able to find out why he decided to leave, but he left in less than 1 year. In 1939, he opens a school, dance school in Ambalapuram and names it Bharata Kalalayam. And I've lived in Singapore for a number of years, and there another student of Guru Gopinath, Mr. K.P. Bhaskar, who has set up the Nrityalayam Institute, Dance Institute in Singapore from the 1950s onwards. His wife, and I used to call her Shanta Chechi, Shanta Bhaskar, was a student of Madhavan Ashan in this school. So look at how you connect the dots. At least in my own life, I connect the dots. Because I know, or I knew, Shanta Bhaskar ji passed away, both of them passed away, but Shanta ji passed away about 2 years ago, if I remember. I knew her well. So she was a student in Madhavan School in 1939. In 1939 to 45, remember this period, dangerous period, Second World War. 1st of September 1939 to mid-May 1945. So, 1940, the Second World War intervenes and he has to shut down the school because dance is not the thing you do during war. 1940, Madhavan moves to Thrissur and teaches at various schools and also offers private classes. 1940, a brief attempt to initiate a school in Ceylon. Ceylon is Sri Lanka, as you know today. So he goes to Sri Lanka. And again, World War II gets in the way and he has to return there. So he's trying, you can see that the man is trying to do many things, it's not working. 1941, Madhavan is invited to perform at the Coimbatore Kerala Samajam. Tamil film director P.K. Nagalingam. Apparently he was known as Raja Sando. I have no idea why, but that was what he was known as. He's very impressed. And he's a big producer. And he invites Madhavan to choreograph for his next film. It's a Tamil word. I speak Tamil so I can tell you, Araichi Mani. And it is released in 1942. So now this is the first time Madhavan becomes a dance director in a film. And I told you he went to Sri Lanka. And this is Sri Lanka. Kathakali, again, the man went on his own. There's now no Uday Shankar, no Michael Chekhov, nobody, right? He's on his own. And yet, see what happens because of his talent. Kathakali artist from Palakkad who mesmerized British Ceylon. Carl Muller, whoever he was as a writer, he wrote about Madhavan, who launched his Bharatanatyam ballet. That's what he calls it. Okay? In Colombo in 1940. Madhavan, let it be recorded, was lionized wherever he performed. Muller wrote, the governor of Ceylon, Andrew Caldecott and Lady Caldecott honored him, and Sir Andrew referred to his performance as nothing finer in the world of Indian culture. So the man he must have been brilliant. I haven't had the honor of seeing him, but I know from what my father has told me and what now this proves, right? This can't be luck in anybody's life. 1914, Madhavan is in Ceylon. This is pictures of old Ceylon. And here, in the middle, you see two dancers who are Sinhalese dancers. And on the left, the gentleman is Mr. or Shri Chitrasena. And on his left is his wife, Vajira Chitrasena. Mr. Chitrasena, Sri Chitrasena knew my father because he also was a disciple, as Venuji was, of Guru Gopinath, my father's guru. So they have met at that time. He came to India to study dance under Guru Gopinath. And Vajira Amma, I knew her. I went to Sri Lanka a couple of years ago to meet her. She just passed away a few months ago. I met her, and I know their granddaughter Taji as well. So this is from Sri Lanka those days, and despite all the luck that Madhavan Ashan had there, again Second World War intervened. It could not happen. He came back, and then, of course, in many people's lives, if this happens, after years of learning and developing under the shadow of iconic teachers, Madhavan married Guru Kunju Kurup's, his teacher's youngest daughter. Ammani was her name, Ammani Amma. That's her as a very young girl. This is not the age that she got married in, obviously, but this is the only photographs that we had. So this is not the time. Neither is this the age when Madhavan sir got married. But This is the older photograph that we had, and that is his own teacher's daughter. Now the last of the timeline. 1943 is here. Madhavan Achan is invited to teach at RLB College in Tripunithura, again about an hour from here. 1943, invited to perform at the Tripunithura Royal Palace. This is Madhavan Achan. The Queen Mother awards him the Veera Shringala, which is the highest honor that a court gives, whether it is the Tripunithura court or Cochin court or the Travancore court or the Calicut, ruling those days. 1944, returns to the film industry and shifts his residence to Madras, Chennai as it is now. 1950s, 60s and 70s, dance directs for Tamil and Malayalam films. So the number said about 100, but I could not find 100. I traced from 1962 to 1975, 1976, about 30, 40 films that I've actually researched and found. More than that I could not find. So for Tamil and Malayalam films, and choreographs for Sahasranaman's drama troupe. So Madhavan Achan is performing, he's helping them choreograph. He works a lot with Lalita, Padmini and Ragini, these phenomenal Travancore sisters as they were called then, very, very talented. Among them, Padmini was the most well-known because she became a big actress as well. And Madhavan Achan, helped them a lot in terms of their choreography and development. That's what I'm told, and that last week I was talking to Dhananjayan sir, Padma Shri Dhananjayan sir, Padma Bhushan I must say, I'm sorry. And he confirmed to me that Madhavan Achan did spend a lot of time teaching these three sisters. And so that kind of was a good, reassuring fact to know. Madhavan continued to direct dances in films for the next 3 decades. So he was based in Madras, which is Chennai now. He choreographs the Kalya Mardana episode in Narayaniyam, that was the production and the film. And he is elected the president of the Cine Dancers Association of Madras, 1974 and 75. That's the last bit of detail that I know about his life. And the mercurial Madhavan Achan passes away in Madras, 12th of June, 1988. So this is where his 1915 he was born, 88 he passed away. Now I've taken you through his entire life. In the 1980s, this is just before he passed away, 3 of the first students of Kathakali at Kalamandalam reunited. So this is a photograph from there. Madhavan sir is on the left, right, far left, and in the middle is Kelu Nair and Anand Shiva. So you can see life, time, everything takes its toll. People change, we change, thoughts change. I believe they came here as judges for some competition which I'm not clear about. And hearing that these 3 had come together, Krishna Nair Achan came, their classmate, right? He came and wanted to meet them, which he did. He came and met them, which was that would have been a nice photograph, but not there anyway. So this is the last slide I want to talk about that kind of resonated with me when I was thinking about putting this presentation together. Viktor Frankl's wonderfully beautiful words. Between stimulus and response, there is a space, right? In that space is the power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. It's beautiful. I think in the context of the history that we went through today in terms of the lives of the 2 individuals, one started with a reasonable privilege and then, rose to, something really big. The other also got that kind of worldwide recognition, but for some reason did not do that. I cannot find, I'm not knowledgeable, nor am I qualified, nor is it necessary to pass any judgment on whether one is great and one is not great, or that's not what I'm here for. But I think that when you are trained in a particular art form, whatever it may be, and you get this kind of clarity and opportunity, it is important that you also think about what you want to be 5 years from now, 10 years from now. And those of you younger students that are sitting there, we have great many lessons to take from all these wonderful artists who have come before us and, contributed sincerely to so much that we owe them for today, in terms of preserving their art and culture movements, and despite all their struggles, we just see all the glitter and the glory and all that, but nobody sees the trouble and the struggles and the many walls that they have to climb, and as I'm sure you also have to, all of us do at some point in our lives. So that brings me to the close of Crossing Cultures. I hope, I don't see myself a historian. I don't see myself as a, accomplished speaker or, great orator or something like that. My passion is in art history. I put these things together and I try to tell stories that others do not tell. So this kind of work is what I like to do. So I have no desire to be any superstar or anything. I just keep doing this. I will do more. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. That's it.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Any questions?
Thank you so much, Mr. Vinod. It was truly insightful and extremely inspiring, and such beautiful archival pictures you've collected. It's precious. Thank you. We're open to any questions if there are any from the audience.
Yes, Ramesh. Yeah, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So in the presentation,
Yes.
it's after 40s to 88. There is a long gap. And you just mentioned these film episodes and other few institution education only. So in between, actually, what has happened to his creativity and how that big tycoons like other Uday Shankar and other big art organizer, curator, or why they rejected? Have they rejected or anything?
No, there is no proof of anybody rejecting Madhavan at all. This is a path that he took himself. Why do I know that? Why am I responding to you? Because my father knew him. And he did meet him occasionally in Madras or Chennai, as it is known now. And my father used to have conversations with him. And he was in his own world. Madhavan liked to do what he liked to do. And my father also explained to me that Madhavan was not somebody whom you can negotiate with. It is not somebody whom that he can negotiate with. You couldn't do that apparently to him. His personality was extremely strong. If he had one view, that was it. So, you wouldn't debate somebody like that. And my father also said he was extraordinary in terms of talent.
So, is he done any performances like any Kathakali, Veshams or something like that?
I'm sure he would have, but there are no records of that. If somebody can find the records, it would be wonderful. I think Madhavan story is a story that has to be told. That's why I put the words forgotten legacy. It's a great legacy. So it is something that needs to be recorded. It needs to be looked for. This little talk is not enough for somebody as great as that. I mean, look at Chekhov. Of course, he had this whole array of artist names and connections to push him through. Madhavan did not have that. Times were different. Situations were different. And perhaps the irony is somebody like Madhavan needed the ladder that was given by a larger company, which happened in the case of Uday Shankar, and everything is arranged, looked after, all you have to do is perform. But then if you're used to that, then suddenly you get off that bus, you don't know how to drive the bus. And then, it could be that, but that's, from my point of view, that's still speculation on my part. I don't know.
So in the end of the 40s, and he was 3 decades he's in Madras.
Yes.
So have any connection with the Kalakshetra?
No, he was not a person who would keep in touch, not just with Kalakshetra, with pretty much any institution. So he was not a person like that. He was a person who was very private, very aloof, and only occasionally when he happens to see somebody whom he knows and he wants to talk to, he will talk to them. That was it. Other than that, that was him.
Big thanks a lot, Gopalakrishnan, for bringing back his good memories to
Absolutely. He deserves to be known. Thank you. I must say thank you to Vinod, because he is the person who kept telling me for months now, more than a month, maybe more than a year ago, he kept telling me, speak about Madhavan, speak about Madhavan. Yes. I know my dad told me this, but then I had not got together to put the material.
Guruji has been speaking about Madhavan with us also. He's been sharing some little stories and about his artistry and about his craft.
He was absolutely master. So from what you read, it came naturally to him. Brilliance was part of him, to say that, But he wasn't brilliant in anything else, unfortunately. He couldn't handle what was there. That's my only reading that I get. And then, of course, when you have a strong spirit like his, you're not going to ask anybody.
You don't want to confirm.
No.
Yeah.
No.
We have one more question.
Okay, random one.
Yeah.
Or slightly tangential one.
Yeah.
I was just wondering what might be going wrong in the current world in terms of cross-pollination of art and theatre and culture, because their fruitful collaboration happened perhaps in a very, very bad global economy, like world was heading towards a world war, communication was difficult, but still a lot of cross-pollination happened, not just in terms of Madhavan and Chekhov, but like Bala Saraswati and all those people had...
Bala Saraswati much later.
Yeah, much later. And today I myself live in Australia and struggle to find any areas where South Asian art forms have kind of very fruitful collaboration or cooperation with Western art forms or theatre forms. It happens in pockets, I'm for sure, but any representation of South Asian dance or theatre mostly happens in independent Asian circles or South Asian or Indian circles. So what might be affecting that? Just your thoughts would be good to know.
Well, couple of things that I don't think that collaborations or international collaborations are lessened now and they don't happen now. No, I don't. That's not my view. In fact, a lot of it is happening today. Sometimes bordering on too much of that is happening today, in a view. Now, you have two levels of engagement. One is at the Bollywood level, which is the commercial level, and one is at the classical level, which involves classical dance, theatre, if you're looking at the Indian context. Particularly in the case of Australia, there has been an established, documented history of the lady I talked to you about, Louise Lightfoot, who actually brought Indian scholar, Australian architect and dance student who came to Kalamandalam, knew Vallathol himself, and took Ananda Shivaram there. They put the school together. They went across in Australia, if I remember, Sydney, Melbourne, Perth, Canberra, Darwin, and Alice Springs. I tend to remember these things because I keep reading art history all the time. So they went and performed, and their students are still there. There is an established school in Brisbane that I know about. Archita Mehta is, performing there, and she's teaching there as well. Nirmala Benedict is in Melbourne, if I remember. And a lot of touring companies go and perform. Yeah, there's a lot of it is happening now. But, and it's not necessarily in the Asian circles, but there are two kinds of crowds. The big ones which bring in a lot of audiences are more commercial in nature. It's got nothing to do with India. Most of the cultures are like that. So if you go there, you get this big crowd which is more mass appeal kind of art forms. But for classical, it is not that much.
Yeah, it's not perhaps scaled up to the extent like what's happened in the 30s to what is happening.
No, you see, when you increase in volume, the quality goes down. So it's standard rule. Yeah. Anything else?
I have a question. Is there any proof that Chekhov is influenced by Madhavan forms in academic?
If you can find it, I'm sure there is. But if you can find it, I would be.
I have, if I may, I have been to a class where the teacher has read out a little, note that Chekhov has written to his students. He's written a letter to his students celebrating Uday Shankar and his troupe, which of course included Madhavan. I don't remember if that name was mentioned very separately and clearly, but Uday Shankar and his troupe of dancers was very, very clearly celebrated by Chekhov and was given as an example to his students. Their craft, their technique, their artistry was highly celebrated by Mr. Chekhov. Yes, please, Guruji, come. Please.
It was great.
Thank you.
So, my experience with Chekhov system, when I was teaching at the Intercultural Theatre Institute in Singapore, one of Chekhov system's international authorities, David Cinder, maybe the School of Drama students knew, he also...
I think the mic is not on. Can you check?
It's not here, there, behind you.
Oh, that?
Yeah.
Oh.
This one for.
So, when I was teaching Navarasa Sadhana in Singapore, David Cinder one day asked my permission to watch the class. He came. In one of the exercises, he said, "This is Chekhov." I said, "No, I have not studied Chekhov." "Yes, definitely it is Chekhov." Then he said, "But Chekhov never had been to India," he said. Then I said that maybe Chekhov had some influence from Indian theatre. Then he said, no, he never had been to India. Then I replied, Chekhov, when he left Moscow and when he arrived, it was the first two sisters who received him was Alice Bona and her sister Georgetta. Georgetta was an actor. So when Chekhov came, without anything, he was escaping from Moscow because Mayor Holt was killed. So they received, they are very rich ladies, they received, and they started a company there. They were performing. And I had great opportunity to be in the house of Georgetta Bonner, and I was very friendly with her. She was 96-year-old. We used to perform Kudiyattam. She came regularly because she has not seen Kudiyattam. She had been very familiar with the Kathakali, this Georgetta Bonner. And she had great respect for Chekhov. So when Chekhov came to Zurich, actually it was in a same palace-like building where they are hosting Uday Shankar, Madhavan and Chekhov, Ravi Shankar,
Yes, in the same.
in one house. And all his stay in Zurich was, they were interacting with each other.
Yeah.
And later on, there is some article mentioned about Uday Shankar and Madhavan visiting this Dartington
Yes.
School.
Yes.
So this is the connection. When he said this is Chekhov, then I thought that I must understand more about his connection with the Indian theatre. So this is the thing. And I asked Vinod to do a study because he is more qualified than me to make a survey and bring out all the details. I can say that nobody else can do such kind of detailed work. And he was very successful in this. Thank you, Vinod. You did very well.
Thank you. Thank you.
I think David Sinter must be hearing this now because
No,
we sent an invitation for the online.
no. Just your inspiration, and mine is just putting things together, which I'm used to doing. So
I think we have to now explore. People who are studying Chekhov should also understand Indian theatre and what are the things going to. But these great masters, usually when they write the final treatise, they never mention properly. Yeah. Because even Stanislavski had a great connection with a person who had a wonderful deep study on yoga in India, Gurdjieff.
Yep.
During 1718-19 period, Gurdjieff conducted workshops in Moscow, and young Stanislavski might have been. He cannot just ignore it, but they will never say. But he says several places the Hindu says Stanislavski, yeah. And they were all connected with so many of Indian methods. I think these theatre students should have, when they study any Western masters, definitely there are some routes go to the Indian tradition. That is our duty to study and reveal it. Thank you.
Absolutely.
So, maybe we can start.
Yes. In 15 minutes, Guruji? In 10 minutes? Or?
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Vinod.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Really
you.
pleasure.
Thank you, sir.
We're going to have a very small showcase of our Natanakairali batch that we've been spending time with Guruji for the last 14 days. And some of us have put together small performances or pieces, artistic pieces, and would love you to stay back for the same.